everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this one I'm going to be replacing the clutch and a few other bits and pieces while I'm in there. The last video I dropped the gearbox, went through it step by step, and I'm pretty much just going to follow on from here. So yeah, let's just jump straight in. I'll try my best to get the best camera angles I can, bearing in mind I'm underneath the van, there's not much room, but I'll show as much of what I'm doing as I can. So first I'm going to get the pressure plate undone, and then basically the clutch will come out from there. Just a quick safety thing, wear the correct PPE here because this may contain dust that contains asbestos. Protect your eyes, make sure you're safe under here, that's the number one priority. Excuse the husky throat, I've got a bit of a cold. But yeah, what I need to do first is get the locking tool in place to stop the flywheel moving. Simply, this tool I think cost £8, and it simply screws in up here and basically puts a lock on there. And just make sure obviously it engages the teeth. It's not always the easiest to see with the light in here. Bolts wise, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I'm replacing this pressure plate, it shouldn't really matter too much about how I take it off, but as good practice, to undo it you're supposed to undo the pressure at the same time by doing a star pattern, if you like. So a quarter of a turn here, miss one, onto the next, and just keep going until it's basically loose to have all the bolts off. So I get a first look at the clutch. Going to get the flywheel bolts off. These are M10 on this model. I don't know if that's standard or not. I think I read M12 somewhere, so I don't know if you get different ones or if I've read wrong. But yeah, I'm going to take them off hopefully without any issue, and I'm going to kind of do it missing one at a time. Okay, wasn't too bad. Like I say, the breaker bar I would advise it to start because it was just too tight. But once you break the seal, that's it. So now I just need to get it wiggled loose. I don't know how free it's going to be, or if it's going to need a bit of assistance with the pry bar. Yeah, there's a bit of movement in there. So there we go. That gets us access to what we're looking at next, which is the main oil seal here, and the pilot bearing, spigot bearing, whatever you want to call it, in here. So if you're needing these replaced because of an oil leak or wear, you're going to pay £350–400 and the equivalent in other countries just to get in here. Now the bearing I think was £6, the seal again about the same, £6–7. So the parts are relatively cheap, it's just the access and the labour getting to this stage. So this, as I said before, pilot bearing is to be replaced. Now what I've got here is a blind bearing puller, so it basically goes in, you tighten it up, and as it tightens up it widens and it gets a grip, and you've got a slide hammer that basically pulls it out. That's the theory anyway. Starting to come now. There we go. Let's go and compare the old one to the new one. So to be honest, it doesn't look in bad condition, but as I said, for the price of it and when I'm in there, and there's the new one. Side by side. Back under the van, I'm going to get this tapped in place. Now you can see hopefully from that camera, there's two edges there, chamfered edge and a flat edge. When it's getting tapped in, the chamfered edge goes in first. It just helps it go in because it's a tight fit. As I said, with the small camera there, the chamfered edge goes facing in here, like that. I've put a tiny smear of grease on the chamfered edge just to help it on. Now this just needs tapped in. You can use a few different things. You can use a socket the same size, you can use anything basically that's going to knock it in square. You do not want it going in at an angle because it'll jam and it'll wreck the bearing. What I've got, again I've had this with my minis, it's just basically goes in the inside and it basically sits over there. So clears the needle bearings, sits there, and it basically means when you hit it with the hammer it's going to knock it all in evenly and square. So it started there, and then basically you're wanting that right in until it's flush with the casing. And you'll know because when you're hitting it, it's going out, it's a different note. You can start to get a vibration and a different note, and then you know it's in. Now what I'm going to do now, so I don't forget later on, is I'm going to put some grease in here for when the gearbox goes back on. I will put some on the shaft as well, but I'll put some in here while I've got the flywheel off. And I'm just using some lithium high temp grease. And that keeps all the needle rollers inside protected. Anybody that watches my previous videos knows I hate working with grease. So yeah, that's the pilot bearing done. I'm now going to replace the main seal, just a like for like. So just got like a pick tool to get this out. Also careful not to remove these shims. There we go. You can see the flat face facing this way and the one with the little spring in facing towards the engine. Doesn't actually look in bad condition, that. Make sure this is nice and clean, again without knocking the shims. I don't have to look at the shims because I'm not changing the flywheel, so it shouldn't change any of these adjustments. So I'm going to put a light coating of oil on the seal that's to go on, just to help it go on and be lubricated better and just basically give a better seal. And it's just a case of tapping this back on, getting it nice and square, because I don't want to put everything back together and have leaks. So just I've got this in a set ages ago and it fits over quite nicely. I probably could do with slightly bigger, but it's the biggest one I've got. It just has to make sure it goes on square. There we go, happy with that. You can hear a slight note change when it's right back. It's all square all the way around. So again, I'm just going to put some oil in here, and that's the oil seal done. And good for many more miles. Unfortunately, I lost a bit of video footage here, so this is me replacing the small inner oil seal for the flywheel. The last one just came out with the pick, and it's just a coating of oil and pushing that one back in with my fingers. This was me replacing the small felt washer. Quite hard to get a hold of, most places are out of stock, but when I got it it's fairly inexpensive. The last one was quite deteriorated, this one just simply pushed in by hand. Fairly straightforward. Giving this a clean up with brake cleaner to get rid of all the dust and oil and grime. So it's good to go. I'll give it another clean when it's on the van in case it's picked anything else up. I'm just going to put some oil around this part as well so that when it goes on it's lubricated to go over the seal, and I'll do the same with the seal once I'm in there. It's just some of the engine oil I've got left over from when I done the service. Just helps it get a better seal, and just put some more on the O-ring. It makes it easier doing this here than when lying underneath the van. So yeah, this is good to go on. I've got some new bolts to go on here because it's always recommended to change these bolts. I'm just going to grab them and put some thread lock on so they're ready to go on under the van. Okay, get back under the van and get these on. The flywheel end, you'll see there is a dowel sticking out here, and it corresponds to here, so it can only go on one way. It will be tight, so you just need to kind of guide it on best you can until we get it lined up and we can get the bolts on. So the manual says to tighten to 60 Newton meters for stage 1, and then stage 2 a further 90 degrees. So I mean a further 90 degrees is obviously a quarter of a turn. So I'll get the torque wrench and I'll do the 60 Newton meters first,